I'm here today with Dave Reece. We were just talking about the massive growth spout that the renewable sector has been seeing for the past 30 years. He's the founder of BHiveLive, and they are a talent acquisition platform for renewable energy. So, Dave, let's talk about this massive growth we're seeing.
Yeah, so I joined the industry back in '95. I started in a small R&D company in a town just outside Southampton in the UK. And from then, when I joined, it was like top five growth industry back in '95. And I've been in the industry since then. And it was only supposed to be sort of a off the cuff job, but it's kept me busy since then.
So, what have you been doing? So busy with this industry.
Yeah, so basically went in as a shop floor tech building wind turbine blades, and they were only 14 and a half meters long. And over the years with this company, we built up the product from 15, 4.5, 15, 16, 18, 19, 21, and then 35, 40 meters, and then moved to a larger facility on the Isle of Wight, a small island just off the south coast. And then blades from then just went astronomical in size. And I think currently now the biggest blade being built is somewhere in the region of 108 meters long.
So, what jumped you from being in the field with that type of product, the blades, to now focusing on talent acquisition?
Yeah, so during my time in manufacturing, I actually went through most of the business from manufacturing into R&D and then into finishing and then into field operations as well. During my time in the field, I was able to travel all over the world with projects across the globe from Japan to India, across Europe, and even in the US and Canada. And during that time, it was okay. We were working for an OEM, so there was plenty of work and seemed to be plenty of people available to do the work. And then when I left and went into an independent service provider, I set up a couple of companies to provide the services that were required, really. I always found that it was very difficult to find good staff at the right price, right qualifications, in the right area, and obviously when you need them.
And so that made you think, all right, well, this is a major problem with staffing here. We should jump in.
Yeah, and that's really what it was. One night late in a drinking establishment after a long day, sat there, had a phone call, somebody couldn't make the job the next day. And obviously with a customer relying on you to turn up to do that project that you've been scheduled to do, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's 9 o'clock at night. Where are you going to find somebody to turn up the next day? And there's only two options really: somebody you know that might not be working at that particular time, or you wait till the next day and you phone a recruiter, and hopefully they'll be able to find you that may be able to get somebody to you earliest the day after. So BHiveLive was born then, really. So it's a platform where you can upload all your information, and a client can search on there for a technician in the field that they want and talk directly with them without the middleman of a recruiter.
Are you seeing a shortage in properly trained individuals to do this work right now?
Yeah, that's been a problem for a long time. Even back in the 90s, it was every man and his dog you needed to get on board, really, because the production of the product and the demand for it was so great, you just couldn't keep up. And it was always, when you went onto a new production line, it was like half of the original production line would separate into the new line, and then you'd have an influx of 100% staff increase, and 50% would go on each, and it would be a buddy system to try and obviously increase the production line and maintain the quality that you were performing at before. So yeah, it's always been difficult to get technicians up to speed, especially with the current demand.
With such great demand, why do you think that the people have not caught on to the fact that, hey, these are jobs that you could be doing?
I think it's probably not publicized enough. It's not an area of industry that people would automatically think of firstly, especially in the current times. Manual labor is on the decline. People obviously on socials, they see the fast buck. I just need to be an influencer or a creator. And don't get me wrong, there's a need for that, but there's always going to be a need for people to maintain product that is out there working and running. They don't self maintain. They need grease in the gears. They need oil, grease in the bearings, and oil in the gears. So, and until it becomes, I don't know, front and center, which is getting there. Don't get me wrong, because obviously with the increase in renewables and the need for it is becoming more prominent that people are seeing that.
Well, and I guess you're probably a proponent to say AI is a good thing because it's
Yeah, so I've just won a contract in the last couple of days with a drone company, and they've an autonomous system. Turn up to the wind farm, set the drone at the base of the turbine, and press go, and it runs through the inspection process. It takes about 20 minutes, I believe, but it doesn't do everything. It can do the inspection, but then it still needs the human input to verify the identification of the items on the blade. So at the moment, it'll identify a black mark or a scratch as a defect or a area of interest. But for categorization at the moment, we're still in the machine learning process, and you need backup of humans to say, yes, that is what that is, or no, and you need to correct your thinking on that.
yeah, and even if AI replaces a lot of these jobs, other jobs, that's great. Now we have people who can learn how to do these technical things.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you've read the book Humans Need Not Apply. Basically, it goes back to when the motor vehicle was first coming to market and how much we were dependent on horsepower, as in the physical horses, rather than the horsepower of your engine. And the amount of horses that were made redundant overnight almost was incredible. And the same is going to apply when we increase the use of robotics and AI and everything. But that said, they're going to need some help as well. So it's not going to be we don't need humans anymore, because there's plenty of other things we need to do.
From your perspective, what are the biggest opportunities right now in the renewable sector?
Or biggest opportunities. Well, with the increase in installation of wind farms and solar construction, always going to be in high demand. So if you're into civil engineering or engineering on a whole, really, any kind of engineer, you're going to be in high demand. Construction workers all the way through to completion of the projects. So installation of towers, nacelles, and the rotors. And then solar, of course, you've got the big solar farms going in with all the framework and the panel installation. If you're an electrical engineer, it's all revolves around electricity. So you won't go far wrong if you're an electrician.
So now we need more electricians, we
True.
need more service techs, we need more
We,
engineers.
we do.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's management as well. Like there are different levels of skill there, management of all these people, making sure that you hit your targets to maintain these units. Because if you don't, they just fail. They are built well, don't get me wrong, but they're not built like they were in the 70s. The 70s turbines were bulletproof. You know, they just go on and on and on and on. Whereas today it's a leaner process. They're closer to the spec of what the turbine can achieve. So you need to keep them fine tuned.
So they break down more now?
I wouldn't say they. That's a good question. I wouldn't be able to give the facts on that, to be honest, but they are a lot more complex. So they've got computers in them now, whereas before it was just switches and lights. So you have got that element, more sensors. They are much bigger, and the power generation is a lot larger as well. So I think you'd probably have more smaller faults related to the amount of components involved, whereas before there was very few smaller components in the turbine. They're all major components.
That makes a lot of sense. Typically, when you bring in complexity, right, you're creating a more efficient product, but there's also more areas for things to go wrong.
Exactly. Yes, that's true. Well, it's like a chain link. The more links, the more likely you have to have one fail. So.
Yeah, definitely. So, Dave, if one of our listeners wanted to get in touch with you or learn about BHiveLive, how could they learn about it?
Okay, so the first place to go would obviously be our website, bhivelive.com. But LinkedIn, I'm heavily active on LinkedIn. So it's Dave J. Reece, and I'm the only one on there as far as I'm aware right now at the time of filming. So you can find me on there. And feel free to connect and DM me.
Well, thank you, Dave, for coming on the show. And thank you, everybody, for listening to another episode of Failing to Success. I'm your host, Chad Kalecki with Cosmic Design and Development. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.